This is the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Here's Rick Ucchino and SP3 on the Bleav Podcast Network.
You know, something's been kind of bothering me, SP3. Like, why are we calling this the most stupendous two-night event in the history of WrestleMania when they literally slap WrestleMania over everything? Last night was WrestleMania RAW. Friday is WrestleMania SmackDown. They're putting the frickin' Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on SmackDown, plus an Intercontinental title match. And you know we're going to get WrestleMania Backlash again this year. I guess everything's bigger in Texas. Why don't we just call it WrestleMania week, even though tonight wasn't in Texas?
Well, it's the most stupendous WrestleMania week. How about that? There you go.
Maybe. Was it? Depending on that build last night, I saw a lot of backlash from last night's show, but I'll say this much. There were a lot of really good, like, go-home segments, like, collectively. I don't know if the show was great. I think maybe closing with the SmackDown or with the tag team division, Raw, SmackDown, tag team, mixing everything together, wasn't exactly the strongest option to close the show with, especially when you had Brock and Roman and Becky and Bianca and Kevin Owens. That would have been much better option. Seth Rollins, even actually physically appearing on the show, might have been a good option last night. No Cody Rhodes again. No Cody Rhodes. We'll get into that, but we can kind of start with Seth Rollins there a little bit, but just overall, your thoughts on the show last night.
This was an NXT 2.0 show. It was a bad show with some good qualities.
Something you said I believe it was something you said on Twitter or somebody associated with True Heel Heat said, and I agreed with you. And this was more than just like one segment. I believe it was the Bianca Becky segment that you guys said that it would have been better if they would have done this 2 weeks ago and built off of that. I felt
100%.
I felt the same way about a lot of these segments tonight. I felt like a lot of the segments we saw tonight should have happened weeks ago and then been built off of that. I feel like WWE's just been kicking the can down the road to some of these segments tonight, and that's it. Like, this is what they were building towards, and now it's ready to fight. Where they should have started with this stuff and then built off of that.
The Bianca Becky was just the most glaring one because literally Bianca Belair took a week off after that injury angle. So
Sure.
What was the whole point of the injury angle? It was only because she accidentally injured Becky, and then you just had to have her get comeuppance and do that. No, you should have done the haircut angle 2 weeks ago. Then Becky's promo from last week is even more impactful because she actually lost something. She actually has something to be like fearful that Bianca's gonna take something else from her. Like, yeah, like the whole saying, the fans chose you over me. That, like I said last week, that was hollow. She could have had something to really talk about with the haircut if they happened 2 weeks ago.
Still some good stuff regardless. I'll focus on the good work as we always do with these shows, and we'll talk about everything coming up here. But first things first, got to shout out our friends over at Bet Online, for whom out with this show would not be possible. I think that was proper English. We are finally here. The top teams in college basketball have been determined. The Final Four is set. All blue bloods. Sorry, St. Peter's. Looking to wager on the games this year or the national championship, head on over to betonline.ag and on your desktop or your mobile device. Sign up today. Receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code Bleav to get started. BetOnline remains your number one spot for updated odds and info, along with player props and new contests throughout the year. It is the best source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and everyone's favorite Vegas casino and poker games. Now we're speaking my language. It is super easy to get started. Join today. Learn why everyone is saying Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on sports. Bet Online, where the game starts. And SP3, we will start with the fact, still no Cody Rhodes, but I think it is pretty dang obvious what is going down here. We got the video that leaked out onto social media. Well, not leaked out. WWE literally put it out on social media ahead of Monday Night Raw. I know you had an issue with that. But they put the video out, the meeting with Seth Rollins and Vince McMahon, this whole 6-minute segment, which was really good stuff from Seth Rollins. Vince McMahon basically saying, look, why the hell didn't you just come to me and asked me to be on WrestleMania? And if you're going to be on WrestleMania, you need your own main event, SP3, his own main event. And Vince McMahon says, look, you got your match. it's going to be an opponent of my choosing. And everybody sits there and says, oh, well, obviously this is going to be Cody Rhodes. And oh, wait a minute. It's the main event. So could Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins be main eventing WrestleMania Saturday? Not so fast, my friend, because then we had Kevin Owens cut his promo off the heels of a fantastic package, like just taking you back in the day of the best of Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then Kevin Owens cuts his promo about how he loved Austin, but Austin's a shell of himself, and he's going to kick his ass if he tries to get confrontational, and he said he's going to do so in the main event of WrestleMania Saturday. So is it Kevin Owens or Stone Cold is main eventing? WWE just passing out WrestleMania main events like it's freaking Oprah and she's giving away cars on a freaking Friday special. I have no idea what the hell's closing the show on Saturday. I got no damn idea. It's like participation trophies for professional wrestlers now. Hey, we called it the main event, guys. And so that means, Seth, even though you were the second to last match and we had a segment afterwards, you finally main evented WrestleMania night one. I have no clue what's goes on the show. This is a pet peeve of mine that WWE. I know people have their pet peeves. This is a pet peeve of mine.
Ladies and gentlemen, like most things with WWE, I've grown accustomed to it. I've learned to accept it ever since 2011. 2011, why do I say that one? Because that was when Alberto Del Rio, not that I like to bring him up too much, but he won a 40-man over-the-top rope Royal Rumble match, and he won the right to main event WrestleMania. And that main event opened WrestleMania 27. So ever since then, I just accepted the fact that that was the main event, that on night one of WrestleMania 38, Kevin Owens and Stone Cold in a damn talk show is a main event. Seth Rollins versus an unknown person right now to the casual fans. The unknown person is the main event of WrestleMania. I'm pretty sure they put out a graphic or a tweet that said that Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair were main eventing night one of WrestleMania. I'm pretty sure all the Becky Lynch fans like Rick Ucchino, all the Bianca Belair fans are out there saying that Bianca and Becky are the main event of night one of WrestleMania. Hell, I know there's people from social media icons that think that Logan Paul and The Miz versus the Mysterios is the main event of WrestleMania. And you know what? All of y'all are right. All of it is the main event of WrestleMania because there's no matches anymore. They're all main events.
I always look back. This has been bothering me for a long time, ever since CM Punk should have main evented WrestleMania, but he did not go on last. And then they told him, and these were CM Punk's words, they told him, it was like, well, you're one of the last three matches. That means you're like the main event.
No. They said you're versing The Undertaker. That's the main event. That's a main event. They didn't even say you're one of the last three. No, they said you're versing The Undertaker. That's a main event of WrestleMania. What are you talking about? Like, they looked at him like he was speaking French to them. He was like, wait, huh? You're versing The Undertaker. That's a main event.
See, here's the other thing is, like, now that it's a 2-night, man, there's still really only one main event, right? Like, it's Brock and it's Roman. That's the main event of WrestleMania. Main eventing night one, that is, yeah, sure, that's fantastic. It closes out the show, and I'm not trying to diminish anything, especially last year with Bianca and Sasha Banks. But I mean, if WWE is going to sit here and say, oh, well, 10 matches in a segment could all be, WrestleMania main events, well, then technically nothing is a WrestleMania main event at this point. Sid, are you still with me? Because your screen froze there. Okay, there you are. All right, now you pop back up. So we're all good there. But all right, so here's the thing. We know Seth Rollins now has a match after will he, won't he, will he, won't he? Is Cody Rhodes coming in? Is he going to face Omos? That was just me. Sorry. This, that, and the other thing. We know he's going to have a match. It's going to be somebody Vince McMahon's choosing. Are we 100% sure that it's Cody Rhodes? Because I can't help but think there's just like maybe this 10% little nugget in my brain that is going, Vince McMahon's going to look at that and go, man, everybody's thinking it's going to be Cody. Maybe we hold off Cody until the Monday after Raw. And then he picks up the phone, dials up, and he goes, hey, pal, what would you think about coming in for a quick surprise appearance. And then either freaking Undertaker or Goldberg walks down the ring and beats Seth Rollins in 15 freaking seconds.
I was thinking even better than that. He picks up the phone and he's like, "Hey, how's my grandkids? How they doing? Yeah, did you talk to your mom today? Did you wish her happy birthday? Dad, today's not her birthday. Oh, well, do you mind coming in for WrestleMania?" Shane O'Mac. Here comes the money. Here comes the money.
Oh, what a swerve. Vince is a genius. He leaked the report that Shane's been let go. I think it would be a massive mistake to have it be anybody other than Cody, because it's something that we have talked about before. Just because it's predictable doesn't mean it's bad. Sometimes you just got to give the fans what they want, and everybody wants Seth Rollins versus Cody. But I'm telling you, I'm going to be there in person in Dallas, and I am going to be nervous as hell until I hear adrenaline in my soul. What the hell else the lyrics are. That's the only line I know.
Adrenaline in the soul. Vince McMahon's going to choose Cody Rhodes.
And that's what exactly he should do. And I'm going to be puckered up, very tight, just going, please, for the love of God, don't let this be anybody other than Cody Rhodes. And there's about 15% of me that is going to eat over the other 85% of me until that moment actually happens. And then I'll be able to exhale and just kind of enjoy everything. I think it has to be him. Anything else would be a massive mistake. And honestly, I would not be surprised if that is what closes the show. And honestly, it's not necessarily the wrong choice. We talked about this last week. Seth Rollins has had the best build to WrestleMania of pretty much anybody up to this until last night. I mean, if you treat the Becky and Bianca, as you talked about, if you treat the Becky and Bianca build like a Quentin Tarantino movie and kind of move pieces around, I would say that. But Seth Rollins' journey all the way up till now has been the best damn build to this point.
And then they dropped the ball at the 1 yard line by putting his go home angle on social media before the show. And everybody, I mean, if you know WWE, you knew once you saw it on social media, you were like, they're just gonna replay this on Raw, aren't they? We're not gonna get a segment with Seth, are we?
No.
Yep. And as predicted, that's exactly what they did.
And it's amazing to me because Seth Rollins was there. They had a dark main event last night where he and Austin Theory, don't get me started on Austin Theory, I'm pretty sure I'll probably bring that back up later on in the night, but he and Austin Theory lost to RK Bro in a dark match segment. So he's there. Why don't you use him? Seth Rollins would have been great to close out the show. You could have actually had him come out and cut like a 5-minute promo. Do we need the Street Profits running out there and just beating up on doing the same thing that they did last week?
When did the Street Profits turn heel? Because I'm pretty sure like it came off like they were just baby faces making a point last week when they attacked Riddle, because they had attacked the Alpha Academy, and it's every man for himself going into WrestleMania. But last night was a heel move by attacking the champions from behind to interrupt that matchup. Thank God I didn't pay attention much to that RKO and the Usos match, or I would have been pissed at that finish.
Yeah, so this is funny. I'm glad you teed this up for me, because I did talk to Montez Ford, and that interview did drop yesterday at 3 p.m. It is available right now here on the Bleav in Pro Wrestling Podcast YouTube channel and the podcast channel itself, available everywhere that podcasts are, including the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, and Apple, and of course, everywhere they're available. Look, he talked about the fact that they are being more aggressive because they know what is at stake at WrestleMania. They want to have their moment. They want to show up and show out. And this is part of their taking out their aggression of the last 2 WrestleManias. You remember they lost, or well, they won at WrestleMania 36, but that was inside the Thunderdome. And then last year they were taken off of the card. Now, what would be great is if they actually put that on television. Montez Ford telling me that in an interview is great, and it's fine. And you guys should check out that interview because it was really, really fun. He's a great dude to talk to. But why not make that part of the story? Why don't you explain why they're being so aggressive and attacking literally everybody? Because they're in a weird spot right now. Because you'll notice last week when they attacked Alpha Academy, they got cheered. When they attacked Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, they got booed. So they're in the middle of these 2 teams, these 2 polarizing teams, and they've always been perpetual good guys. So I don't know if they're heels, or last night it just seemed like, oh, hey, your match got cut. We need you to go do something. Just go do something to set up a go home spot. But you see this so often where where talent will explain things in interviews, and it's like, well, damn, why didn't they just put that on television?
I mean, there's nothing to say. I don't understand why people wreck their brain on stuff that WWE just doesn't do.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Again, I thought the go home segment last night, focusing on the tag team divisions, not the best choice. Maybe Bianca and Becky could have closed the show last
Where
night.
were the Alpha Academy?
MIA. They were not on the show last night. So yeah, they're winning on Sunday, right? Yeah, that's definitely gonna happen for the Alphas. Hey, the fact that they're on the card makes me happy because they definitely earned that spot. But they had what 5 tag teams out there last night, lost count. So 4 tag teams. So yeah, they just probably didn't want to squeeze all 5 into there. But arguably the best segment of the night, and we'll get to the other promos and everything that happened. But arguably the best segment of the night was Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. Bianca comes out, cuts a really passionate promo. Becky tries to do another sneak attack. It looks like she's going to get the upper hand. She's got the big ass scissors. She's going to cut Bianca's ponytail off because Becky has always been about receipts. She always remembers. She always gets her receipts. That's why she attacked Bianca 2 weeks ago. I don't think they should have taken Bianca off of television because of it, but at least them adding the accidental injury into the storyline plays into Becky's character because she's always been about getting even. And then this was like, all right, you're going to whip me with your hair. Well, now I'm going to take away your greatest weapon. Except Bianca went all Superwoman once she realized her hair was in danger, gave her 2 KODs, and then took the scissors to town. And in a segment that had me kind of clinching, like, I don't like y'all doing moves around an open set of actual scissors. And then you got people running around as Bianca is actually cutting hair. But regardless, they did it as safe as they could, and it was fantastic television last night.
Maybe this is just the blackness in me. I just felt very uncomfortable when Becky had the scissors because cutting a black woman's hair, I don't think WWE wants that type of heat. That's another level of heat that they would get from Black Twitter. Even people that are non-wrestling fans would have commented on that and called WWE. They would have made that the most disgusting business tactic of 2022 if they would have cut Bianca's hair. You don't understand how important a black woman's hair is to them and how much of it is a symbol of Bianca Belair, promoting the culture with her hair and stuff like that. So thank God they made the right decision. They had Bianca cut Becky's hair. It was a great go home angle. I thought it would have been even better a couple of weeks back, but just in a vacuum, this was a great way to go home and make this feud personal. It finally feels like there's an actual tangible feud going on because they in one go home segment they made it personal and stopped making it about SummerSlam where the booking was booed. Not Becky, not Bianca. The booking was booed. No one has chosen Bianca over Becky, but this was the first time that the fans sounded genuinely invested because at the start of the the attack by Becky, I literally had to turn up my laptop to hear the crowd because I was like, is this crowd silent? And they were. They didn't know how to react. They still don't know how to react when it's Becky and Bianca until Becky started doing more healer stuff. And when she brought out the scissors, that's when the crowd got into it. And then with Bianca getting cheered throughout the cutting of the hair, this was a great angle. And I love Becky's response with "you bitch" at the in the backstage area. This was great on all levels from everyone involved. Really enjoyed this.
And the Becky's reaction in the moment was fantastic, and then the backstage segment was great too. She is going to lose it soon. She is going to absolutely snap, and I am here for it. This is I'll never root against her, but I am ready to see what Becky Lynch is like when she actually loses everything. And everything to her right now is that Raw Women's Championship. So if she loses to Bianca on Sunday, she is going to snap. And I can't wait to see what her character becomes once she loses that. and it's going to be very, very, very interesting. I'm still not 100% certain that Bianca is going to win on Sunday or Saturday, excuse me. There's still part of me who thinks, okay, maybe they'll elongate this because, okay, what's next after that? That's always the question, is what's next after this. So
I mean, me myself, I am rooting for Becky because I like to see wrestling Twitter burn. So I'm rooting for Becky to win.
by the way, thank you for explaining the hair thing, because I know I have seen people put that out on Twitter, and me just being, an ignorant white guy, I didn't get it. So thank you for explaining that, and I totally understand that. And I'm willing to bet Bianca expressed that to those backstage who said, okay, we can tease it, but it ain't happening and y'all don't want to do it, and here's why. And I'm thankful that WWE happily that they listened to her. So really, really good stuff. Can't wait to watch that match. I really hope they give it more than 26 seconds on Saturday. Real quick before we get to the 5 count, tons of people SP3. They take multivitamins, but it's important to choose one that is top quality. With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you are absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to start your day off right. Their special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It is also lifestyle-friendly and fits a wide range of diets. There's only 1 gram of sugar and no chemicals or artificial anything. Reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It is just 1 scoop and a cup of water every day. That is it. To make it even easier, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Bleav. That is BLEAV. Again, athleticgreens.com/Bleav. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Athletic Greens, take ownership of your health. And before we move on to the 5 count, a special reminder. This is a big week at Bleav in Pro Wrestling. That includes this coming Friday, 7 a.m., the most stupendous prediction show of all time with the very fabulous Renee Paquette. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You do not want to miss out on this, especially since I have worked the phones correctly and I have negotiated, and it is going to go down. It is going to be Renee Paquette against SP3. Does Renee believe that she can beat Sid in trivia this coming Friday?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a Bret Hart fan and you always wish for the Canadian to be on the opposite side of the screw job, you want to stay tuned to the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast Friday at 7 a.m. as Rick screws me over in favor of Canada's best analyst, podcast host in general, Renee Paquette.
I thought you were about to say Canada's greatest export, because that would also be
That's also
factual,
true.
that would be a very factual statement. Hey, you're 1-2, man. You're on a winning streak.
That was literally by me, like, not just giving up. I'm going in with the same attitude that I did against Graham, and I have better luck with that.
It's time to answer the 5 count on the Bleav Podcast Network.
All right, SP3, we had closing arguments last night. I think that would be the best way to describe it. Both Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, which, by the way, weren't they supposed to go face-to-face last night? Wasn't that advertised?
I legit said the same thing on Twitter. I was like, I'm really sure last week on Raw they promoted this as face-to-face.
Oops, that didn't happen, but we did.
To be fair, like, half of the stuff they had planned for the show didn't happen. Alpha Academy versus Street Profits was also supposed to happen. Ronda Rousey and Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair was also supposed to happen.
That would have been dumb as hell. It would have. That would have been dumb as hell. If you ain't doing Becky and Ronda at WrestleMania this year, keep them as far away as humanly possible until you actually do that match. But anyway, we had our closing arguments. 2 very, very different promos last night. Brock embracing the crowd, embracing the what chants, just being cowboy Brock, talking in that country slang and that southern draw that he does, even though he's out in the plains of Saskatchewan, Canada. But anyway, he's having a lot of fun with this role, and he says, basically, look, we're gonna go down history. And I love both of these guys for talking about history. He says, look, I'm gonna take you down to Suplex City, and then we're gonna go and drive on this boulevard, and we're gonna go to the fair, and you're gonna take a ride on the F5, and then we're gonna go to a wedding, and we're gonna unify our titles, and they're gonna have a baby, and it's gonna be the undisputed heavyweight championship, and it's gonna be my baby. Then you have Roman Reigns, who comes down, reacts very, very differently to the what chance. And again, I know this is something that we've talked about ad nauseum, but it bears repeating. 3 years ago, he would have been rattled by that crowd. Last night, he took everything in stride. He owned that damn ring, just basically threatened him, didn't let the what chance get to him, and delivered a hell of a promo that, honestly, you talk about Becky and Bianca now making it personal. My God, if Roman Reigns had cut this promo 3 weeks ago, we could have had an incredibly personal build off of that. He talked about everything, why it bothered him so much, why he's going after Brock Lesnar, all of the receipts, talking about getting bloodied up at WrestleMania 34, and that's why he attacked him in Madison Square Garden, right? The fact that it's been eating at him, that he's never been able to beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Why were we just hearing that last night? That did not make any sense to me to sit on that. You could have done that weeks ago and built off of that. But regardless, two good promos, two completely different promos. So number one here on the 5 count, who won you over? Who had the better final say last night? Was it Brock Lesnar or was it Roman Reigns?
I'm going to be honest. This was a 10-8 round for Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns knocked this out of the park. I like Brock. I like Cowboy Brock. He had a very fun promo for sure, but Roman turned the what chance around, brought up the history with the I was there live in New Orleans in 2018 where Roman Reigns was supposed to win, should have won.
Yep.
He would have won if it wasn't for the crowd turning on the entire match. And you can see this is a totally different guy. Like the aura he came out on Monday Night Raw, he just seemed like the coolest wrestler in the world. So I was like, this is by far, this is the much better promo. I like him bringing up the history here. This felt like a go home promo in my opinion. Austin and The Rock, one of the greatest build-ups in a lot of people's opinion to WrestleMania 17. Austin never brought up that he was out for almost a whole year and never got the WWF Championship and how much the WWF Championship meant to him in the weeks leading up to the show. He did it in the go home segment, face to face with The Rock, and cut one of the best promos of his entire career. And that's what Roman Reigns did. He didn't need to bring up any of this stuff because they got the Paul Heyman story. They had the big angle in Madison Square Garden. They've had 6 months of this version of their feud to kind of just flesh out and stuff like that. Yes, it's made their built up on SmackDown lackluster as hell, but you needed this type of go home promo to kind of put the stamp on it. Whereas Brock Lesnar, he didn't really say anything to me. Like, he was fun because he's Cowboy Brock and he just seems like he's having a great time. But Roman Reigns, he did the heavy lifting here. After Brock's promo, I legitimately was like, why are we even getting 2 separate promos? Because there's literally nothing left for them to say. If they've done all the work, it's time to just go to WrestleMania. But then Roman came out and just said, no, we have to say this. We got to talk about me never beating Brock at WrestleMania. We got to talk about him bloodying me first. And the Madison Square Garden attack was just me getting the receipt. We got to talk about all the things I've taken from Brock. I made his advocate the wise man. I've taken his spot as the longest reigning champion of the modern era. And at Sunday, I'm going to take the WWE champion. This was a home run promo. Roman Reigns won me over here.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. I love Brock's promo just because he is having fun with it. But you're absolutely right. And I loved Roman sitting here saying, like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, basically calling Brock out on this crap. It's like 2 weeks ago, you're talking about this being personal and you're coming from my blood. And tonight you're out here talking about titles and property and this, that, and the other thing. And he's like, this has always been personal to me. And I loved how he ran down, just like you said, he ran down everything and he's like, look, there is one final box to check, and then I'm done with your ass. I'm going to beat you at WrestleMania. In which case, I hope he does it. And then I hope we're done with this for quite some time, because that's literally the last box to check. Don't need Brock coming back getting retribution. Don't need it. Don't need it. Please have a plan. Please have a plan. Please have a plan. That's all I'm gonna that's all I'm gonna say about that. SP3, you know how people love to complain about professional wrestling, right? But pretty much everything all the time. There is nothing that I have seen people just lose their mind over is when a SmackDown superstar shows up on Raw, or vice versa, or an NXT. I see an entourage of tweets going, what brand split? Do we even honor the brand split anymore? That's all I see on Twitter, one after another. And I get it to a certain extent, but this is one of those things, like you said, accepting that everybody gets a main event at WrestleMania. This is something that I accepted a long damn time ago, and it really doesn't bother me a whole lot anymore. So I'll ask you, does it bother you when WWE doesn't honor the brand split? Because we saw a lot of SmackDown stars last night.
It bothers me when they do it like 3 weeks after a draft, like they did last year. But when they do it the week of WrestleMania, no, that's the time you don't honor the brand split, because I kept putting, in our live chat over on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, that they really drove home the point on Monday Night Raw that this is the go home show. That SmackDown has the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It has an Intercontinental title match. That's really the pre-show to WrestleMania.
Even though we're getting 4 hours worth of pre-shows at WrestleMania.
You're gonna have those two matches, maybe another match, and then you're gonna have nothing but video packages on SmackDown. Like literally, it will
can't wait to be there in person to watch it, baby.
It will take me and Dutch Mantel to review that show in like 20-30 minutes, unless Dutch is very upset with something that happens on the show, because I am not wasting too much time talking about this show, ladies and gentlemen. Because
honestly, they should just do the Hall of Fame ceremony the last hour.
They literally, all like the last couple of weeks, they've had more recaps than actual wrestling on SmackDown. But the last night's show from Monday Night Raw was the go home angles for even the SmackDown views. Drew and Happy Corbin. You got Roman and Brock. You had the women's tag team title go home angle. Like literally, the only thing they need to do is a go home angle for Ronda and Charlotte, and hopefully that doesn't involve any talking. But I'm okay with them not honoring the brand split this week.
You know what bothers me? It doesn't bother me when they don't honor the brand split, right? What bothers me is when they act like it's a big deal that they're not honoring the brand split. Like when the whole build up to SummerSlam is always like, one night only, Raw versus SmackDown. This is the only time.
You mean Survivor Series?
Yeah,
I don't. You said SummerSlam.
Sorry, I always say the wrong one on those two. But yeah, Survivor Series.
Yeah, no, when they say that, and then we get the same matchup from SmackDown from Survivor Series on this show, on the show last night, that bothers me. I don't care about not honoring the brand split on the week of WrestleMania, but don't give me any Raw and SmackDown matches if you're building a whole pay-per-view on that.
Correct. So and I've said this before, they should have retired Survivor Series with The Undertaker, but because it kills the whole last half of the year. That's what murdered Big E's WWE title run, is they put him up against Roman Reigns, and then he lost clean as a sheet. And it's like, well, then he lost a couple matches to Lashley, and now all of a sudden we're getting into Royal Rumble, and you completely cooled him off, and they took the damn belt off of him first chance that they got.
Why don't they just go back to 2016? 2016 was the last time that Raw versus SmackDown gimmick for Survivor Series worked, because they realized, hey, maybe we shouldn't put the top two champions against each other so one of them have to lose. We just make them the team captains of each brand. That's what you do every year. Do that every year. Yeah. It was great when we saw Brock versus AJ Styles. It was great when we saw Brock versus Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
But Did those losses for AJ and Daniel Bryan really help them? No, not really. So
nope.
We should learn from that.
I would say the last like really, really good champion versus champion match was Roman and Drew. And in that case, like if memory serves correct, Drew did not lose clean in that match. They still protected him a little bit in that end, and it made you want to see that match, which is why I think a lot of people are wanting Drew to step up to Roman after WrestleMania is over, assuming that he beats Happy Corbin at WrestleMania. But yeah, no, I don't like it when they make a big deal about Raw and SmackDown superstars coming, because look, they're all under the same brand, right? Like we shouldn't be stunned if a SmackDown superstar goes over. Just explain like, hey, look, it's a SmackDown superstar, but for tonight we're using them on Raw. That's fine. They're all under the same WWE contract. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me that Dolph Ziggler's the NXT champion right now. It's when they make a big deal out of it and pretend like this is the only time you're going to see it. I think that's what kind of also helps tick people off. But you know what ticks me off even more is when you bring over a guy like Ricochet to Monday Night Raw after you had him lose 2 matches on SmackDown to set up this damn ass triple threat you got at WrestleMania SmackDown. Can't put the damn Intercontinental Championship on the freaking main card, even though it's 2 damn nights. But okay, you have him in this triple threat match on Friday after losing 2 matches last Friday. So what do? You bring him over to WrestleMania Raw, and you have him face Austin Theory, who is in his own feud right now, actually has a match at WrestleMania, and he loses clean as a freaking sheet in 3 minutes? He loses to Austin Theory in 3 minutes. So what you're telling me is that Austin Theory, who literally could have beat anybody last night, Omos beat the freaking War Machine with a clothesline last night. Austin Theory could have beaten T-Bar. He could have beaten Mace. He could have beaten not Mustafa Ali, excuse me, because he's not coming back, but he could have beat Mansoor. He could have beaten anybody else in the roster. But Vince McMahon actually called up Ricochet, said, get your ass to Pittsburgh so I can feed you to Austin Theory when you're the Intercontinental Champion. What the hell are we doing? And I hate that this ticks me off so much. Oh, that's the number 2 babyface on SmackDown, folks. Number 2 babyface on SmackDown.
Remember that was the big thing? They're going to push him to be the number 2 babyface. There was legitimately fans who told us to get excited because Ricochet won the Intercontinental title. And we said, we'll wait for the follow-up. And this has been the follow-up.
I wasn't one of those people who said you should get excited. I was happy and I was hopeful. And very, very quickly, WWE has kicked me right square in the balls on that one. We saw a major return last night. Very good to see Bobby Lashley back and healthy after it was initially reported he could be out somewhere up to 4 months with a shoulder injury. He is back off of the storyline concussion protocol, and he stepped up to the big man Omos. Now that it is official, right? It is official. It is happening. It is Bobby Lashley versus Omos. That was the rumor. We saw the setup last night. Does this match do anything for you, SP3? Are you excited to see a good old-fashioned hoss fight between Lashley and Omos at WrestleMania?
No. That's all I got for you. I mean, it was nice to see Omos take a bump.
Sure.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was a moment.
I mean, look, dude, the crowd was into it last night. I mean, I get it.
I get why was into it when they first went toe-to-toe in a tag team match. So
yep. And I'll say this much. Be into it. I'll say this much. I don't know if I'm excited to see it because I don't think Omos should be losing. Or excuse me, I don't think Bobby Lashley should be losing to Omos. I guess maybe the question would be, how hurt do you think Omos would be if he lost to Bobby Lashley? Do you think that would squash or quell his push or kill any of the mystique that he might have with the casuals? Or is this just a match that is just going to be all about optics and the finish doesn't really matter? Because if that's the case, I think Bobby Lashley should win. But the crowd was excited to see these guys go toe-to-toe with one another. And again, I'll say this much. Bobby Lashley is a large human being. I have stood next to him. I am not a small human being. He dwarfs me, okay? Bobby Lashley next to Omos looked like a 13-year-old. That looked like a stepdad chucking his 13-year-old around the living room for failing his science homework. All right, that's what that looked like last night. So I get it. I understand why WWE is invested in this guy and wants to push him because he is an attraction. I'm more interested than I would say excited maybe about this match because I want to see how this gets booked. And I do love an old-fashioned hoss fight. But man, I don't know how I'm going to feel if Omos beats Bobby Lashley, who, by the way, was just WWE champion. 2 months ago? 2 months ago, he was WWE champion. Okay.
Yeah, I mean the right move is Bobby Lashley wins to set him up because he's obviously got a big pop when he came out. You need baby faces to line up to verse Roman Reigns that haven't verse Roman Reigns. Bobby Lashley would be at the top of that list. Drew McIntyre should also win at this pay-per-view. He should be at the top of the list. So
yes, I wholeheartedly agree. I would say AJ Styles, and this is something that we'll get into with Renee, with this new character that Edge has right now. I think it would be detrimental for Edge to lose to AJ Styles at WrestleMania at this point. I do think that would kill that character off really, really quickly. And we'll get into that when we break down the entire WrestleMania card this coming Friday. We saw an 8-woman tag team match last night. Again, Zelina Vega loses. Her and Carmella have not won a match since the first week of January heading into this thing. Don't feel good for their chances this coming Sunday, especially since Corey and Carmella are getting married like the day after WrestleMania is over. So maybe I would assume that they're going to be taking some time off. So somebody's winning these tag team titles off of Zelina and Carmella this Sunday. The question is who? And this is something that we kind of touched on over the weekend on another channel that we were guests of. Sasha Banks, the possibility of her winning the tag team titles. To me, I'll set this up. I'll go ahead and give you my answer, and I'll set this up for you. Sasha Banks, surprisingly, is 0-6 at WrestleMania. She has not won a match at WrestleMania. For her to come in and win the tag team titles this coming Sunday with Naomi in a match that was kind of very sloppily and hastily put together, and the only reason that it was put together was because they wanted to get 8 more women on the card. To me, I feel like it would almost be kind of a lost opportunity here because Sasha Banks, at least in a lot of the fans' eyes, is an upper echelon star. Huge mainstream potential for Sasha Banks. She should be treated on the same even playing field as Charlotte and Becky. We know that's not true, though. We just know it's not. I think it would make a great story someday for Sasha to try to get over that hump at WrestleMania and make that a driving storyline in a one-on-one match, and then she finally gets it. Or we get that 4 horsewomen fatal 4-way, and she actually wins that, and that's her first win at WrestleMania. Put her over in a big way. I think that could be a big story that I think would just go by the wayside if she won on Sunday. So I'll ask you this much, SP3. Would winning the tag team titles this Sunday be a big enough first win for Sasha Banks at WrestleMania to you? Is that something that you care about or focused on or think could be a different storyline down the line?
yes, because anyone who's saying it's not and that they want her to wait to be a singles victory, you're never going to see a Sasha Banks WrestleMania win with that type of thinking. When you have the best opportunity to give her first win, you give her first win. The best opportunity was actually the last time Sasha was in a women's tag team title match back at WrestleMania 35. Her and Bayley should have kept those titles, but they didn't. And this one will not only make her the most prolific women's tag team champion of all time, make her a 3-time women's tag team champion. No one's done that so far from my record. No, except for Nikki, her and Nikki. But her and Naomi would become the first ever African American women's tag team champions. That's history, and that's a great way to follow up from the history that she made last year. Is in the first 2 African American women to main event WrestleMania. You turn it back around, and the next year you become the first 2 African American women to win the women's tag team titles. You get it done. They're the best team in this situation. it's a no-brainer. I think everyone who's hoping and wishing, oh no, you prolong it for a singles win, you're not going to see it because Sasha Banks is not long for this business, ladies and gentlemen.
You might be right there.
I don't think she has more than 2 more WrestleManias before she's in Hollywood, has a Mandalorian series or something. Like you guys are waiting for a hope and a wish and a prayer when she's going to be in Hollywood in a few years. Get it done now.
You might have sold me on that, to be completely honest with you. And here's the other thing, man. She's not going to be the only one. I think maybe Becky Lynch has 1 or 2 WrestleManias left in her. So everybody who's sitting there saying, oh, you have plenty of time to do Becky and Ronda and do the 4 horsewomen, Fatal 4. No, you don't. You don't. And you never know what's going to happen. Bayley's now is going to miss back-to-back WrestleManias. 1 because of WWE's dumbass booking, and 2 because of an injury. You never know what's going to happen. So yes, if you have a chance to do something, go ahead and do it. I would have preferred her to get it in a singles win. And again, I'm torn because I want her to I want that storyline, but at the same time, I want these women's tag team titles to be showcased and to actually mean something. And I think the best team to put that on for that to actually happen would be Sasha Banks and Naomi. One quick AEW story, because this one was just too good to kind of pass up here as we close it out. Fightful Select reporting that MJF and Tony Khan got into a reported heated exchange over a recent interview that MJF did with Ariel Helwani. Now, from Tony Khan's perspective, it was because he did not get permission from AEW to do that interview. And being on this side of the equation, I can tell you that is a big no-no. Big no-no. You go through the companies when these are major companies, unless like you're just really good friends with people, I guess. But that was the issue. But I guess for MJF, according to Fightful, the issue was his contract. And that was a large topic of conversation in that Ariel Helwani interview was, look, if AEW wants me to sign before my contract is up, January 1 of 2024, they got to give me a big-ass bag. And that was his perspective on it. Now, Wrestling Observer has since come out and said, hey, look, this has been all resolved and everything is fine between Tony and MJF, and I'm sure it is, but they said the story was true. So SP3, man, the great bidding war of 2024 might be actually real here. What should we read into the MJF Tony Khan reported argument, if anything?
That you should have been like me and always thought the bidding war of 2024 was very real, because if you know MJF, he is about getting the bag and getting the most money possible. He's another one that ain't long for this business. He ain't trying to be in this. I think he loves this business. He appreciates this business, but I think that he wants to have the greatest professional wrestling career of all time. And you don't do that by going 40, 50 years. You can have the best wrestling career in 20 years. And he's in year, 5 or 6 of his career.
He's only 26.
And he's only 26 years old. He's had a very great career so far. And the bidding war of 2024 is a real thing, especially with what WWE does with Cody Rhodes. MJF is watching that very closely. And I think the whole conversation and the frustration on the MJF part is he is looking at the Cody Rhodes situation and Tony Khan basically saying, yes, I'm willing to give CM Punk the bag. Yes, I'm willing to give Bryan Danielson the bag. Yes, I'm willing to give Adam Cole the bag, but I wasn't willing to give Cody the bag after he was the mainstay, the founding father of this company. And when you look at MJF, he's the number 1 homegrown star that has become a star under the AEW umbrella. So he feels he should already be given the bag before 2024. So I can understand his frustration on that end. I can understand the frustration on the Tony Khan end, and I can understand why Tony Khan called up Uncle Dave and was like, let's try to get this, swept under the rug real quick. Sean wanted to do that report. I ain't really want to comment there, but let me comment with you and say that it's all been resolved. So I understand the perspective from everyone involved here, but it's very, very interesting, and it comes at a very, very interesting time because we are just a matter of days before Cody arrives in WWE. And I think besides all of us that talk about wrestling for a living on podcasts like this, the number 1 person who's looking at Cody Rhodes in WWE is Maxwell Jacob Freeman.
And he's not the only one. because I guarantee
But he's the number one.
But he's the number one. But there's going to be a lot of homegrown talent in there that is watching all of these ex-WWE guys come in and realize, oh, shoot, my spot in the line is getting further and further and further back. I mean, you are stacked deep. We know how deep that roster is. And 2024, this is something that Sean Rossap has said, could be a very major year for wrestling free agents. That's going to be fun. It is going to be very, very fun. And if you're one of these people who's listening to this right now and you're going, there's no way that MJF is going to leave for WWE. Yes, he will. Oh, yes, he will. Because he's a businessman and he's going to take the biggest payday available. And I think WWE is going to offer him that big payday. He'll be in AEW until he's 27, 28. And then he'll probably sign a 3-year deal, maybe even re-up for a 3-year deal with WWE, maybe headline a WrestleMania or 2, and go down as one of the best heels of all time because he has that potential, as long as WWE doesn't screw him up. We appreciate you guys tuning into the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Again, we got major content coming to you all day, every day this week. Tomorrow we'll be doing our big stand and deliver preview. Then we got the True Heel Heat takeover Thursday as I'm flying to Dallas. So SP3 and the boys will be taking care of the AEW recap. And then on Friday, Renee Paquette joins us for our WrestleMania preview and prediction show. Can she beat SP3 in trivia? Well, you just gotta tune in and find out. Like, share, subscribe. We love you all for tuning in. Thank you so much. This is the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast brought to you by Bet Online.